So let's briefly talk about Blueprints, which is Unreal Engine's visual scripting language. Now, when you're doing things in Unreal Engine, I want you to think of it as creating a game world, right? And in your game world, you could have a player, or you might not have a player. Now, if you don't have a player and you have physics and you have things that are going to happen, but you don't understand how it's going to happen, you might call that a simulation. If you know exactly what's going to happen and you just want to record it, then that's an animation, right? And Unreal Engine is used for all of those things. But let's just say, hypothetically, because you're here to create a game, that you're creating a game and there's a player. So your game world has a certain amount of behavior associated. By behavior, I just mean what your world is doing both on its own and in reaction to the player. And that behavior is controlled by your game logic, and your game logic actually comes from these blueprints. Now, we could go very program heavy into this, but I just want you to get the idea. Now, in your game world, events happen. This could be anything. This could be a player hitting a key. This could be a score reaching a certain part. This could be a character coming to a certain location on the board, but events happen. When these events happen, the engine does certain calculations, and these calculations may include pulling in more information, arithmetic, multiplication, arrays, who knows, right? It does some kind of calculation, and then it reacts. And this reaction, technically, we call this updates for most game engines, right? So this event calculation reaction or event calculation update is essentially the cycle that dictates what's happening in your game engine. And this is not just the case for Unreal Engine. This is the case for many, many different kinds or different brands of game engines. And if you can wrap your head around this idea that things are happening many times per second, and each time an event happens and a reaction happens, that's a cycle, you can kind of understand how the game engine is working as a whole. Now, if you ever heard the term frames per second, this is part of what dictates the frames per second, right? These calculations that your computer has to do before it can then update the scene. So if you have a slow computer, then this will affect your frames per second. If you have a fast computer, this will affect your frames per second, also known as FPS. Now let's create our own event.